a 40% cost reduction. Not over 3 years. Not across a portfolio of 200 locations. One retailer in Southeast Asia did it in 18 months with a single strategic decision. And what that retailer discovered will reshape how you think about where your company bleeds money. If you're leading a retail operation in the Asia-Pacific region right now, you're drowning in the same currents everyone else is. Labor costs climbing. Supply chains fractured. Inventory sitting stagnant in warehouses. Consumer preferences shifting faster than your systems can respond. The typical reaction is to squeeze. Cut headcount. Negotiate supplier discounts. Move to cheaper real estate. And yes, you'll save maybe 8, maybe 12%. You'll also demoralize your teams, you'll lose service quality. Your customer retention drops. And you're right back where you started 6 months later. Just more wounded. According to McKinsey's 2025 Retail Transformation Report, 73% of retailers in emerging markets attempted incremental cost reduction measures and achieved only 6 to 11% savings before hitting a wall. They were optimizing the wrong thing. And that's the pain point nobody's talking about. You're not fighting a cost problem. You're fighting a structural problem. And you can't cut your way out of a structural problem. What we're going to show you in the next 8 minutes is different. This isn't another case study about automation or SKU rationalization. This is about one retailer in Singapore and Southeast Asia who identified that their entire cost structure was built on a false assumption. When they challenged that assumption, everything changed. We're going to walk through exactly what that assumption was, how they dismantled it, and the 3 specific moves they made that unlocked that 40% reduction while simultaneously increasing customer satisfaction and employee engagement. By the time this video ends, you'll have a framework you can pressure test against your own business today. The first insight. Assumption 1 was that their physical footprint had to match their revenue distribution. This retailer operated 47 locations across Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. On paper, it looked balanced. In reality, 4 locations were generating 58% of all revenue and 71% of all profit. The remaining 43 locations were generating traffic and brand presence. But the cost of maintaining them was wildly misaligned with their economic contribution. Here's the evidence. According to Deloitte's 2025 Asia-Pacific Retail Cost Structure Analysis, most multi-location retailers in the region carry between 15 and 35% excess store capacity that they've never actually measured. They inherit locations from acquisitions. They expand based on historical heuristic. They keep underperforming stores open because the lease is locked in or because the regional team is emotionally attached to the market presence. The retailer we're examining did a brutal financial audit. Store-by-store rent, labor, utilities, and inventory carrying costs. Not assumptions. Actual P&L. The example. This company discovered that 12 of their 47 locations were operating at negative margins. Negative. They were losing money on every transaction. Another 18 stores were barely breaking even. When you factor in the overhead allocation from head office, they were destroying shareholder value. The CFO's first instinct was to cut costs at those stores. Negotiate wages. Reduce hours. Cut inventory depth. The better decision was different. How you apply this. Start with a financial atlas. Map every revenue dollar back to the cost that generated it. Location by location. If you don't have clean data, build it over the next 30 days. You need to know which stores are actually profitable and which ones are masking losses through Accounting allocation. Once you have that clarity, you can make a real choice. Fix the broken stores, convert them, or close them. Right now, most leaders are making that choice blind. The second move was counterintuitive, and it's where the 40% number comes from. Instead of trying to fix the underperforming locations, the retailer consolidated. They closed 19 stores. But here's what matters. They didn't just close them. They repositioned their entire go-to-market model. The research backs this up. Recent analysis from IDC in 2026 shows that retailers in Southeast Asia who consolidated to smaller core networks and invested heavily in those remaining locations saw average productivity increases of 35% within 12 months, paired with 38 to 42% reductions in cost per transaction. The key was velocity, not coverage. The example is crisp. The retailer took the 28 surviving locations and reinvested the capital they'd been spreading across 47 stores. They upgraded technology in remaining stores. They increased labor efficiency through better scheduling and training. They deepened inventory and high-velocity SKUs. They cut SKU complexity by 34%, which sounds painful, but it freed up shelf space, reduced shrink, and accelerated turnover. The stores that remained became showrooms and fulfillment nodes, not just transaction boxes. They started offering buy online pickup in store at a real scale. They became experiential. The cost reduction didn't come from paying people less. It came from serving more customers per square foot, moving faster, and eliminating the frictional cost of managing 47 separate operations. One head of store operations replaced 3 regional teams. Warehouse consolidation cut storage costs by 29%. Vendor negotiations became simpler and more powerful when you're managing inventory across 28 nodes instead of 47. How to operationalize this? Don't default to incremental pruning. Run a scenario model. What does your business look like if you cut your footprint by 25, 35, or even 40%? Model the economics. Include the redeployment of capital into the remaining locations. Include technology investment. Include training and development. Then model your customer experience metrics. What happens to accessibility? To convenience? For this retailer, closing 19 stores actually improved average customer travel time to the nearest location because the remaining stores were better positioned and better stocked. You might find the same thing. Or you might find that the trade-off isn't worth it for your brand promise. But you can't make that choice without modeling it first. The third and final piece of this is what happened to culture and execution. This is where most cost reduction initiatives fail. You cut the footprint, and your remaining teams feel the pressure. You're doing more with fewer people. Burnout follows. Quality deteriorates. Customer experience tanks. That's not what happened here. The evidence comes from World Economic Forum's 2025 Digital Transformation in Retail report, which found that retailers who paired cost structure changes with concurrent investments in employee experience and digital enablement saw 58% higher retention of key talent and 3.2 times higher customer satisfaction improvement compared to those who cut without building. What this retailer did was critical. They took the $3.2 million in annual savings from consolidation and reinvested 42% of it directly into their remaining store teams and systems. They implemented scheduling software that reduced manager planning time by 18 hours per week and gave store teams more control over their own schedules. They brought in point-of-sale technology that reduced checkout friction. They invested in micro-training programs. They made the reduction transparent. They said, "We're smaller, but we're going to be better at what we do." The result was unexpected but measurable. Employee turnover in the remaining 28 locations actually dropped by 19% in the year. Following consolidation, customer satisfaction moved from 71% Net Promoter Score to 81%. And the stores themselves became places people wanted to work. That translated directly into lower recruitment costs, less training overhead, and better operational consistency. The cost reduction wasn't just about closing stores. It was about being deliberate about where you invest the money you save. The application for you. When you cut, you have to build somewhere else. Identify what's core to your customer promise and your competitive advantage. For this retailer, it was speed and experience. Every dollar saved in footprint reduction. They reinvested in speed and experience. What's that thing for you? Is it quality, expertise, convenience, sustainability? Once you know, earmark a percentage of your savings for that thing. It's not feel good, it's economic. Better experience drives loyalty. Loyalty drives pricing power. Pricing power drives margins. The math works. Picture this. 18 months ago, this retailer was like most of its peers. Stretched too thin. Bleeding cash on locations that shouldn't exist, teams running on fumes. Leadership meetings focused on cutting more, faster, margin pressure every quarter. And then they made one decision. Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please subscribe to Apex Minds D4J for more powerful insights. See you in the next one.